Raymond Teague is our guest. He'll be with us till about 40 after. Then I will get into Russian forces provide security at U.S. events, what this really means, how this is going to be phased in. This is an important talk on air because then my writers, Paul Watson, Kurt Nimmo, and others who have an understanding of this as well can go off my talking points. They can go look up everything I'm going to say. They just search whatever I say, and then articles and documents come up, and then they'll write stories on it because no one has given everybody the full picture except myself, and that is not a good feeling. That is not a good feeling. The people that came the closest to it 50 years ago were John Birch Society, and that's because they had military insiders that were patriots and leaked, hey, we're being told we're going to be occupied by UN troops. People are like, oh, yeah, crazy man. We're going to explain how this works. It's not just us that's going to get occupied. It's going to be everybody. Raymond, I want to get into the fact of did we go to the moon? Because there you are on the major Apollo missions. You're being told it's all happening, but you told me off air. You said, look, well, I mean, repeat what you said and then tell me about the Russian engineer you worked with and what they said.
Okay, one more thing I'm going to put on for Snowden that nobody has looked at. This is why Snowden is not such a big deal. And all of these companies I've worked for, which is several, 3 solid-state companies here, device manufacturers, they have in their employ Chinese and Indian and other people that are from China, from Formosa.
Oh, yeah, they're all in it. The stuff's manufactured over there.
They go home to visit their families. They go home to set up things. Some of them quit and go home and set up their own factory. So what is the big deal? You know, if we're going to hire all the rest of the world to build our stuff here, then they know what's going on. You don't have to worry about it being stolen. You've already given it away.
That's right. The hardware. The Pentagon comes out and says, we want to know what you're thinking. 5 years ago, we're tracking everything you do. We have a computer that has a model of the world in it. The head of the CIA says, your dishwasher's watching you. We're listening to you. But then Snowden says it's a bad idea. Oh, he's a traitor. What he's a traitor for is saying it's bad. That's the real underlying message. Well, do you agree with that statement? Or?
Well, yes. I say that the government or the highest levels is afraid they're going to get overthrown of all the corrupt and dirty deals they're involved in. The other night I watched a film on the amount of money that was covered up, was being handled in the World Trade Center. There were billions of dollars that were lost from the books because...
Billions in gold disappeared out of the bottom.
And so there were thousands of people killed and billions of dollars worth of property destroyed just to cover that up. How shameful. And no real investigation. In fact, now I'm told, or I've heard that in the anniversary coming up, they don't want any of the firefighters and the New York City police down.
Oh, no, that's 2 in a row. They're not allowed.
Yeah, not allowed. How absolutely ridiculous.
Well, look at how it's not just the Secretary of Defense, but top generals now won't be around troops with guns. I mean, but again, this is all planned. This is all planned, what they're doing.
Well, just like the gun-free school zones.
You don't bring a gun around a Roman emperor. You don't bring a gun around a general. I'm telling you, this is an enemy force, so of course they hate the military. I mean, that's why I can't even get mad at cops when they run around and act like psycho goons. They've been trained, we're the enemy. They've been given paramilitary training, occupation training, and they think this is normal. They think this is how they go home at night. Instead, it's gearing them up for a civil war. Do you have any idea how many cops are going to get wiped out when they start this thing? And I'm not happy about it.
It's going to be very nasty if they start it. But one of the things that irks me right now, they're very quick to use their weapons. Well, they're wearing body armor. They're pretty well protected. So
no, I mean, they now shoot people every day. I see articles where a guy gets out and has a pen in his hand, and it's instinctive shooting, which I get makes you a good shot. But the thing is, you know, you've got a weight belt in your car, they shoot you in the head. You get out with your license and it glimmers, they shoot you. They don't even think it's like, you know, okay, corral.
They're not in that much danger unless their perpetrator is going to make a headshot on them, which he'd probably need a high-powered rifle to do. You really can't kill one.
Well, it's not even an issue now If you look statistically, it's car wrecks that are killing cops, but they're all walking around absolutely scared to death they're about to be killed. But Raymond, we got to get to the NASA news.
Okay.
All right. Well, I know it's hard for you to talk about this stuff, but I want you to tell me what you told me the other day.
Okay.
We're going to break. We're going to get you an earpiece so you can actually hear, because I know that it's confusing when the breaks are. We're going to come right back with Insider, Air Force Intelligence, NSA connected, Frontline, NASA, you name it. Because there's a war on for your mind. That has been our motto here at InfoWars for my 18 years of battle against the globalist. And now we see the open announcements of global, private, corporate tyranny over our governments. That's what the New World Order is an unaccountable private combine of organized crime engaged in corporate takeovers of nation states and the conscious attempt to abolish basic rights and fundamental liberties. Infowars.com is not just leading the charge against this here in the U.S. or North America. We are leading the charge worldwide. And that's because our listeners, our viewers, our supporters, fellow freedom lovers like you across the planet resonate with our message of liberty and telling it like it is. And that's why for the last 2 years especially, I have thrown everything I've got, my time, my energy, our backup capital, everything into really trying to awaken the sleeping giant that is humanity. And that's why the July issue that just came in a few days ago is so important. We've already sold about half the stock we have of it at cost in groups of 10 up to 100 in bulk. It covers the entire NSA spy grid, how it ties in worldwide, how it's not about stopping terrorists, but about suppressing and dominating and controlling the free press and political opposition. And in this magazine, we don't just have 3 free bumper stickers like I did a few months ago. We have 10 bumper stickers, 4 full-size ones, with amazing messages guaranteed to get people thinking like America has been occupied by globalist forces. Infowars.com. Listen to Alex Jones at Infowars.com. Infowars.com. Forbidden information. Listen to Alex Jones. Infowars.com. And then on top of it, 6 medium-sized bumper stickers with the message as well. These are key to post in legal and lawful areas on your book bag, your computer, your car, or to give friends and family. I have printed 500,000 of these bumper stickers. Only half of this month's run of magazines has them. So when you purchase them in bulk or you're a 12-month subscriber, you will get the special issue. And I can't afford to do this every month, so it's going to be quite a while until we do this again. Please take advantage of this. Buy them in bulk and give them to your friends and family and encourage them to get these bumper stickers out, because with 500,000 stickers, we can reach tens of millions of people with the message of truth. They want to collectivize us. They want to bankrupt us. They want to drive us into their arms to control us. They want to dumb us down. But the sleeping giant that is for humanity is awakening. So I want to thank you all for your support. I want to encourage everybody to go to InfoWarsStore.com and to get a 12-month subscription or to give a gift subscription. Imagine 12 of these coming to your friends or family's door to wake them up. Or to give a gift subscription to the local police department or your local congressman or woman. This is how we're going to affect change, voting with our dollars and voting with our time. Again, visit InfoWarsStore.com today to subscribe, to get the magazine in bulk, or to give a gift subscription, or to give yourself a subscription to wake up friends and family. I am all in. I am committed 110% to not mince words and to not back off and to boldly confront the globalist. And our listeners and supporters, our info warriors who aren't behind us, they're right beside us. So I want to thank all of you that have supported us in the past, and I want to encourage all of you out there who may be on the fence, that know this information is true, but have been scared to take action. You had better be scared of not taking action and letting this monstrous system come to fruition. Now is the time to commit. Now is the time to say which side of history you're on. Now is the time to stand against the globalist and the New World Order. And regardless of whether you get this July issue, this July 4th Resistance to Tyrants issue, spread the word about liberty, resist corruption in your area. Millions of us doing little things can move mountains together. I'm Alex Jones signing off for Infowars.com and the Infowars team. had to twist his arm a little bit to get Raymond to come in here and talk about this. He's always, privately talking about stuff, nothing classified, but just things that he's able to speak about. It's always amazing. And I said, you got to come in. So what's going to happen is we've got Professor Griff coming up. I got a bunch of news I need to get to. Raymond is going to be on the nightly news tonight. I'm not sure who's hosting. Is it Jakari Jackson, Rob Dew, Darren McBreen? Is it David Knight? I'm not sure who's doing it tonight. Watson was scheduled, but Watson's going to be co-hosting Friday, all 3 hours. So he's not doing tonight. But Raymond says he's up to do it, to really talk for 30, 40 minutes, commercial-free during the interview, to just get into Snowden, NASA, and really kind of let him just roll with it. So we're going to get that set up right now for InfoWars Nightly News, 7 o'clock tonight Central with Raymond Teague. We'll go tape that right after this show today. Raymond, for those that just joined us, you were a NASA engineer. We can put up the photo of you on the Apollo missions front line. They're running a lot of the systems. You were then over the cameras on the shuttle program. You obviously did some other classified programs that you can't talk about. But you were getting into the NSA. Now we're segueing into, because I took it from what you told me years ago that looked to you like it went to the moon. Looked to you, you later worked at RCA Corporation as well. They had cameras there. But then later you said you could see how, well, say it in your own words, that they could fake this. Just like on NORAD, they were having a simulation of the very thing happening. Raymond, again, tell people how many Apollo programs you worked on and what your gut level is, and then what that Russian engineer you were friends with told you.
Well, I've been asked this before, even on this program, and by many people, did we actually go to the moon? And I would say, well, yes, I believe we did, but I cannot be absolutely sure. And the reason I can't be absolutely sure, from things I've seen and can relate to you, you would be certain that we did. But at the same time, from other things I've seen go on, we might not have. Now, one of the many instances, I worked with a patriotic Russian engineer on a solid-state program for a company here.
There's a camera over there, brother. Look at them.
Okay. So, we became pretty good friends. Anyway, discussing things like this, he told me, no, you did not go to the moon. It was all staged. Well, I don't see how we would have staged Apollo 13. Whoever put that one together would be the ultimate in suspense adventure writing if they put the mission Apollo 13 together, because there were just too many things to be thought of and too many details. The rest of it.
But they've now leaked that there's dead Russians on the moon and all sorts of disasters. A lot of, I've been told by high-level people off record that there's a large, not just hundreds of deaths in secret spaceplane programs, but hundreds of deaths, and you add them up, it's even more than that, in secret space programs. I mean, it's admitted there's a secret space program. Bob Bowman's talked about that. Were you involved in any of the secret space program?
No, not really. Now, I know I've heard rumors the Russians apparently have lost quite a few people, and of course we lost 3 on the very first one, burned up right on the pad. And that was tragic. And then, of course, we had the Columbia accident. So we've lost a few people, but we haven't lost anywhere near what apparently the Russians have lost, but they've done a lot more flying than we have. So if the more you fly, the more...
Well, what did the Russian engineer explain to you? And break down you're being fed info, and you were saying they have you doing drills all the time of the same thing. You don't know drill from real.
Okay, now, I think you've gotten the wrong impression on what I told you is simulation.
Well, explain it, yeah.
Okay. All right, let's say you're in a simulator that amounts to your personal car, and you're driving down the highway, and now you've got controllers that put problems in there that you're supposed to solve in order to be able to keep your driver's license, whenever. Let's say you're tooling off down the highway here, and all of a sudden you get an oil pressure light. Your oil pressure is gone. This means you've got 15 seconds or less to save your engine. If you're going to solve the engine problem, you've got to shut the engine down almost immediately, otherwise it's going to be ruined. Now, if you're not going to lose any altitude and probably not crash if you lose oil pressure in your car, but it requires instant reaction. Well, on the spacecraft, there are systems, many systems that might get you killed. You might wind up with no oxygen, no power, too high level of CO2. There's lots of life support involved, and if the system goes out and you take no action, then you will wind up dead. And this was part of the big problem on Apollo 13. The oxygen canisters, or the CO2 removal canisters on the command module, did not fit the ones on the LIM, the lunar module, and they had to do a big they had to invent overnight with the stuff that was on it, on board the space capsule and the LIM, to figure out how to get the air.
What were you doing on Apollo 13?
Well, like I said, the first thing I did was call in all of the rest of our troop, and everybody else did the same. So we had 3 shifts in the mission control room at one time. Not only that, they called in the people that were the support people that did the training, that called in all of their people to figure out what to do to get around power supply problems, air filtration problems, and it had to be done with stuff that was on board. They had to use duct tape and cardboard and so forth to make adapters to get these to work. And
so you worked on that?
Well, we were in a tremendous position at that time. The 3 people I worked with on guidance and control, we monitored the guidance system and the state vectors, in other words, the directions. And
didn't they have like radio telescopes and things and radio trackers to be able to? I mean, certainly the spacecraft went out to the moon.
Oh, you had 3 different stations around the world that kept track of all, that sent and received all the communications and the data.
Sure, because from the evidence I've seen, I believe we went to the moon as well. From the intel I've got, though, is that there was a whole nother secret mission there as backup.
No.
Yeah, and so that's not going on.
No, there was not. That.
Okay, well then how could it have been fake then? Just devil's advocate.
Well, if you're sitting in a room here and you see at a display of instrumentation, like all the, say, the instrumentation on your car, your gas gauge, your
sure, they could feed bad info into that.
Yes, they can control all the info and make you believe that something else is going on. But in this case, that was not the case.
But they'd have to have a whole other room of other engineers to know how to fool engineers.
Well, they did. They had the whole bottom floor of the IBM 360 computers plus all these staff support rooms. And part of them were devoted to putting into problems, to train us to recognize when you had a problem. Now, let me finish on what I was going to tell you. The navigation system did not go down. When the oxygen tank blew up, it knocked the fuel cell power generators offline. And it blew most of the circuit breakers. Well, what happened was, just like in an aircraft, if you're familiar with aircraft operations, you have an endless stream of emergency procedures you're supposed to follow. You pick out what seems to be the most appropriate, and you start going down a checklist and checking things off to see where you are in the system, how your system is working. Well, this was absolutely endless in Apollo. They had everything. But they didn't have this because this was not something that was supposed to be survivable. And what happened? They lost all the power. Well, they were afraid just to turn all the circuit breakers back on because it might all go up in flames. They didn't know what was wrong. So about 45 minutes later, when they finally found out what the problem really was, they got the right circuit breakers on to show that the systems engineer monitoring the fuel cells and the oxygen, hydrogen levels, found and said, "Flight, we've got 30 minutes of power left." He came back 10 minutes later and said, "We've got less than 10 minutes. Well, this was a disaster because without the power on it and the nav system running, there was no chance.
And this was being kept secret from the public?
No, it wasn't.
Well,
at the time, it wasn't broadcast, but there's a whole movie.
No, you're not giving anything secret out on that. I got it, Raymond. All you're doing is trying to not give anything secret out. Now, what about the suicide pills? What was the procedure if they were going to die? Just wait and suffocate or take pills?
I never heard anything about the suicide pills. They may have had some. But actually, running out of oxygen, if you're in a pressure system, for instance,
you just go to sleep.
You will take about 3 or 4 breaths, and you will be passed out, and you will never know what happened to you. You will not know. You will not feel it coming, and you will not know what happened. That's part of the problems and what happened on some of the spatial accidents. I mean, not spatial, well, even that. Where people, they'd purge areas with nitrogen to get hydrazine out of it, make sure there was no hydrazine left.
But then it lingers.
Well, the oxygen, your normal air is 78% nitrogen. But if you went in there too quick or didn't have enough oxygen put in, or wearing a scuba system to supply your air or oxygen, then you would die.
Wow. Well, Raymond, we're almost out of time here. You're going to be able to talk about whatever you want on the Nightly News tonight. You're a really interesting guy. Again, a good friend of mine for 15 years joining us here. Specifically then, you're saying they could have been feeding you guys fake data, but then weren't there other governments and things? Also, they do this mirror test now where they fire a laser from the observatory out in West Texas and hit the mirrors on the moon. But then I guess the argument there is they could have a satellite with a robot like Viking place mirrors.
Okay, the Apollo 13 was on a non-free return orbit. It would crash into the moon if you did not make a maneuver to circularize your entry into lunar orbit. So they had to make a burn and then shut it down. But anyway, they were running out of power and the nav systems were going down. So normally we would verify the data once, mainly the locking ring mechanism between the command module and the lunar module. There were marks on it, and you had to align these, and normally we'd run them 3 times, read them 3 times, make sure everything was absolutely perfect before committing. We did it once, very rapidly.
Committing is firing thrusters?
Firing they used the limb motor to make this because the CSM, there was something wrong with it, but we didn't know what.
And that's the normal actuators?
No, this was the normal. On the command module had a large motor on it that was mainly used.
No, I got it. They couldn't use the normal thruster controls.
Yes, this was an alternative.
So they used the main engine, right?
Well, they used the landing engine for that was intended to lower the.
So what's the bottom line? We're going to break.
Okay, the bottom line was only God brought us back. We never expected anybody to get back from this because the problems were so immense. You had to do it with enormous accuracy. Well, they did it pretty.
Why haven't we gone back to the moon? Because, look, I know there's a lot of suppressed technology. They've got Black Manna, space planes, Dr. Bob Bowman.
This is one of the big problems when Robert McNamara, and I don't know what he had. Anyhow, he ordered the drawings and all the tooling for the Saturn V rocket destroyed.
I saw that.
Well, when
which was really Werner von Braun's design.
Anybody, I mean, everyone, all of the NASA people were in shock because they knew that before they had anything else to fly with, it would be 10 years. So a lot of them would.
And we're still using the Russian heavy booster, right?
That's right. And, I mean, this was treason of the highest order. They just literally abandoned the space program. Well, they had enough rockets to fly through Apollo 17 already manufactured. But at the same time, and this was done during 12. So this was one of the strange things. It seemed like they wanted to bail out of the space program. The government wanted to bail out of the Apollo program.
I can tell you why. The decision was made then to go with robots. Man isn't going to go into space. We're going nowhere. It's over. The elite believe they're going to merge with machines. They all say this. And that they're not going to, the idea of us going to space, it's over. The decision's been made to bring in the world government, bring in the technocracy, release the bioweapons, kill everybody, and the elite are going to merge with the machines, which, of course, is a lie of Lucifer. They're not going to be given eternal life either. But they all say that. That's their actual plan. That's why they killed the real space program.
Well, they killed the real space program when they destroyed the tooling for building the rocket. Well,
here's an example. Werner von Braun came up with the space shuttle idea in 1935 in Germany when he was the head of the rocket program. He came up with the Saturn program around then, was able to then deploy it, a genius, though he was a Nazi. And now we can't even have stuff that good. Again, they've frozen our development while they have an advanced development. And that's what Bowman, who was the head of the Star Wars program, says. He said when he was the head of the program in the late 70s, before they even announced it, they already had hundreds of unmanned decapitation weapons in space with DU Sabos, meteor guns. And he said he can only say that because they'd accidentally declassified part of that. Did you ever know anything about it?
No,
any of that, Raymond?
About that. What it seems strange, not only did we eliminate our capability to go into space, and at least in a visible way, we've never looked back at the hardware that was left on the moon with that could be done with.
Well, here's the issue. Why not just focus telescopes up there and show all the wreckage? There's enough private telescopes in the landing zones. I mean, you could do that with like a 3-foot refractor on a mountaintop?
No, I don't think so. But with the...
I don't know. With digital photography, they could blow it up.
I'm trying to think of the satellite normally that does all these star pictures. Hubble, yes. With Hubble, you should be able to pick up the...
Yeah, aiming at the moon landing site, and there you go.
Flags and other hardware that were left on the surface should be able to see that. And I'm surprised that none of that has been done. They've never admitted going...
Yeah, have the public in, let them see the readout. Or then they'd say they just fake the feed.
So, anyhow, it's strange that we've never... gone back. We've never done.
What does your gut tell you? I mean, you worked on the Apollo program, front line. What does your gut tell you, Raymond?
I would say that the shuttle program has been a cover for what is actually going on, and I don't know what's going on, except it does not make sense that they threw all this capability away, and we've done nothing since then. Well,
see, America's not meant to have that. Just like we give the Panama Canal to the Chinese. We're being sold out. I'm going to explain that when we come back. Raymond, you're going to have the floor tonight on the Nightly News. I want you to really get into this 7 o'clock. And thanks for coming in, buddy.
Okay.
It's always good to see you. Raymond, man. Raymond Teague worked with me for a couple of years. He's a great guy.
Our viewers have demanded it, so now you're going to get it. More pro-Second Amendment gun shows in the month of June.
What we've learned is you cannot hide behind an I-beam when there's a 50 cal present.
Brothers in Arms, 50 cal ammo review, and more. Coming in the month of June to the InfoWar.